raw material that we have is great, and that if you awaken it, it's willing to mold itself. Those first 4 years, yeah, if you get a great education, it's great. But even if you get a moderate education, you can still sort of do great things. I guess as the country progresses, the challenges it will ask, it will get people to accept. At the RBI, for example, our young kids who come in as probationary officers, I always loved interacting with them because they're so eager. And you give them a challenge. So you say, okay, look, this is something that we don't want any of the senior guys. We'll put one senior guy in charge, along with 10 more junior people. And you guys figure it out. And they go away for a month or two and come back with a really very nice, well thought out product. And so my sense is that we are blessed with a lot of good raw material. Of course, we misuse some of that, right from the curse of malnutrition to the curse of bad schools to the curse of bad colleges. A lot of sort of weight on them. But still, what comes out is usable, is fresh, and we should not give up on that. Once upon a time, we could have said, focus on this, don't focus on that. And typically the answer then would have been, okay, we've spent too much on higher education, we are not prepared for it, let's push schools and primary and secondary education. Today, I think we don't have the luxury of choice. We have to push on all fronts, which certainly means that we have to involve the private sector all along, because government capacity is both limited as well as the government ability to do a good job is also severely limited. So I think this is where given the massive size of our problem, we have to innovate using some combination of technology and the available manpower of very good structure, a lot of online material, but a lot of local hand-holding by people who may not be superstar teachers, but are very competent in helping you move along. And typically, it means revolutionizing the way we do education. So it's early days for some of the institutions that have been set up. In management, we have ISB, which is establishing itself. I would say outside the IIMs, it's probably one of the foremost institutions. It certainly has an international name. And of course, Ashoka University outside Delhi has established a fairly strong reputation in a very short period of time. So my sense is it's early days for the private sector. We should not say that it hasn't achieved thus far. There are a number of universities which are well funded, which have the possibilities down the line of doing very well. However, you must also see that they don't start from the same level playing field. Private sector universities have to raise money if they're not fully funded already, and they do that through tuition. And as a result, if a bright kid has a choice between free, relatively free at the IITs or paying at one of the private institutions, the bright kid is going to go one way rather than the other, which typically means that private institutions start with a handicap because their intake, either they have to give scholarships to get that same intake, or they get a selected sample of those who can afford to pay. And so as a result, I think it's not exactly the same level playing field. If we had universal scholarships regardless of where. Now there's dangers there also. I mean, one of the problems in the United States is these for-profit universities have the worst graduation rates because they essentially set their fees at a level which is commensurate with government funding, so that kids or government loans. So kids take government loans, go into these for-profit universities, get a lousy education, come out with debt and no prospect of a good job. We have elements of that. So I think it's extremely important that while we make it easy for kids to get the financing for higher education, that doesn't become the driver for institutions to prey on these kids and then give them a bad education, which goes back to the point of certification and credentializing. We should have a system which measures how much these kids learn and what sort of kinds of jobs they get after that, and makes that much more public so that people who apply to colleges know what they're getting. And that is something that the public system can do. Credentializing, certifying, done in a transparent, sort of wholesome way, is extremely important for the system. Students every year, perhaps over
half a million. Over half a million.
Half a million students to the rest of the world, and we pay for them. That's a huge import, right? Could we import substitute? Now there are two or three reasons for import substitution here. One, of course, is that you save on the foreign exchange. Now, it's not clear that that's the primary objective, but at least we have a much better current account deficit if we do that. More important, substantially more important, is the students you lose abroad, only a fraction of them come back. And many of these kids are really smart kids that you want to use in nation building. So that's reason number two. Reason number three is the resources they would spend locally could create the intellectual capital, because you create the universities to educate them, which then create the idea factories that you need, which is where I started. As a top 5 nation, you need ideas. You need to contribute to the world of ideas, not just R&D, but in the social sciences, in economics, in political science. And those are things that a top-class university will do. Today, we are essentially idea absorbers from the rest of the world. Sometimes we even resist absorbing those ideas. But we are that. We are not idea creators that the rest of the world comes to India looking for. And that is the point that I want to sort of emphasize. That